Tonight, I invite you to close your eyes, steady your breath, and travel with me beyond the boundaries of your imagination. We are going somewhere that no human being ever walked, somewhere that would look more alien than any dream you've ever had. Let us drift back in time, 200 million years, to an Earth unrecognizably living, breathing world of colossal creatures, towering plants, and dangers so pervasive that even a moment's distraction could mean your end. This is the Jurassic Period. And here, you wouldn't last a single day. Imagine, for a moment, that you awaken at dawn. Your eyes flutter open. A pale silvery mist is rising over an endless floodplain. Ferns as tall as houses crowd the edges of a wide, meandering river. The air is heavy, warmer, thicker, laden with the earthy perfume of decaying vegetation. You sit up, already feeling how foreign this place is. The oxygen content is higher. Each breath feels strangely rich, making your head spin. Your heartbeat accelerates. Even standing becomes an effort as you try to steady yourself against a gnarled tree trunk. Its bark is unlike anything you've ever touched, tough and scaled, almost reptilian itself. And then you hear it, a deep, resonant bellow rolling across the plain. It's so loud it vibrates in your chest. A herd of Diplodocus is moving through the morning fog. Diplodocus. The name alone carries weight. Double beam, a nod to the long, slender bones beneath its tail. Each of these animals stretches nearly 90 feet from snout to tail tip. Their heads sway 20 feet above you, scanning the treetops for tender leaves. Their skin is a dull, dappled gray, like weathered stone. They do not see you. They do not need to. To them, you are an insect, so small and irrelevant, you might as well be invisible. But to you, they are the first hint that you are trespassing in an era that does not care for your survival. You step backward, heart racing. The ground itself trembles beneath your bare feet as the herd continues its migration. Each footfall sends a shudder through the soil, like distant artillery. You cannot help but wonder, how much does a creature like that weigh? How much pressure do its feet exert as it moves? You look down and realize that if one of these gentle giants simply decided to shift direction, it would flatten you without noticing. The sun is rising higher now. The fog begins to lift, revealing a panorama so vast and primeval, you feel a surge of awe and dread. Pale green cycads cluster along the riverbanks. Conifers stretch skyward in thick groves. In the distance, the land rises into a series of rocky hills, a place where predators roam. You begin to walk, driven by a simple, human instinct. Find shelter, find safety. But there is no true safety here, only momentary illusions. As you pick your way along the edge of the river, you notice strange tracks in the mud, three-toed impressions, each as long as your arm. They are fresh, still glistening. You crouch, studying them. You can't help but feel the hair on your neck prickle. These are not the footprints of a docile herbivore. These belong to a theropod. And not just any theropod. A predator. Perhaps Allosaurus, the different lizard, one of the Jurassic's most accomplished hunters. You remind yourself to stay calm, but every part of your nervous system is screaming. You are unarmed, shoeless, exhausted from simply trying to breathe in this heavy air. Even if you were in peak condition, you would stand no chance. In the Jurassic, you are not an apex predator. You are prey. Moving away from the river seems wise, but the undergrowth is dense mats of ferns and tangled roots that trip your feet. Insects the size of your hand drone around you, landing on your arms and legs. Their bites are sharp, immediate. And then, from somewhere beyond the trees, you hear a different sound, an unearthly screech, higher pitched than the Diplodocus calls, more insistent. You freeze. Through the trees, a shape moves low to the ground. Stalking. It emerges into a patch of light, and you see it clearly, a Dilophosaurus. It is smaller than an Allosaurus, but no less deadly. About 20 feet long from snout to tail, it carries itself with a sinister grace. Two crests rise from the top of its narrow skull. Its yellow eyes fix on you as it cocks its head, studying your shape. For a moment, you hope it will decide you are not worth the effort. But your sense what fear, strangeness carries on the warm air. It takes a step forward, and another. The Dilophosaurus is not alone. Another moves behind it, partially hidden by the foliage, a hunting pair. Your heart pounds. Your breath comes in shallow gasps. You take a single, careful step backward. They freeze. You turn and bolt. Your feet slap the forest floor, stumbling over roots and stones. You run without any sense of direction, only the need to flee. The forest becomes a blur of green and brown. Every step could be your last. Behind you, you hear them give chase. Dilophosaurus could sprint at speeds you cannot match. Their long legs, evolved for pursuit, eat up the distance. You are not a gazelle. You are a soft, slow-moving creature in a land built for monsters. You don't look back. You don't dare. Then, by some stroke of fortune, you burst from the tree line onto a rocky outcrop. The sun blinds you. Your foot catches on a loose stone. You fall, rolling down the slope, skin tearing on the rough surface. When you finally come to a stop, you taste blood in your mouth. Your ankle throbs with a pain that makes your vision swim. And yet, you are alive. For now, the Dilophosaurs emerge from the trees, heads bobbing. They are cautious on the rocks, unwilling to risk a fall. They watch you with cold curiosity. After a long moment, they retreat into the shade, their forms dissolving among the trunks. You lie there, gasping. Every part of your body hurts. You know this is only the beginning. Because here, in the Jurassic, the predators are not the only threat. The plants themselves are stranger, more dangerous. Many of them produce toxins that would sicken or kill you. Others are armored in spines. Even the insects can carry diseases your immune system has never encountered. But you cannot stay here in the open. Slowly, painfully, you push yourself upright. Your ankle will not bear your weight. You limp across the rocks, searching for any sign of water or shelter. Below you, the land opens into a wide valley, and there, moving with the unhurried purpose of a creature that knows no fear, is the largest animal you have ever seen. A Brachiosaurus. It towers above the trees, neck rising, 40 feet into the air. Each step it takes leaves a crater in the soft earth. Its body is a mountain of muscle and bone, a testament to the scale of life in this forgotten world. But it is no threat to you. In fact, its presence is almost comforting. No predator would dare attack such a titan. You watch it for a long time, hypnotized by its slow, deliberate movements. In any other circumstance, you would marvel at this moment, a glimpse into a past so ancient it defies comprehension. But here, in the Jurassic, wonder is a luxury you cannot afford, because even as you watch, you feel the sun climbing higher. The heat grows oppressive. Your skin begins to burn. You have no hat, no shelter, no protection. Dehydration comes swiftly. You turn your gaze to the horizon. Somewhere out there are fresh water, shade, safety if only for a little while. But to reach them, you must cross miles of open ground, and you must do it with a wounded leg. You take a breath, and you begin to walk. With each step, the reality becomes clearer. You are not meant to survive here. Every moment is borrowed time. Every breath is a fragile defiance of nature's indifference. You are a visitor in a world that ended long before your species began. And here, in the realm of giants and monsters, you are no more significant than a passing shadow. The heat bears down on you like an invisible weight. Each breath feels thick, as if you're inhaling steam. Your throat is dry, your lips already cracking. As you limp forward, you look up into the sky, hoping the drifting clouds might promise rain. But all you see is a vast, endless blue, so bright it seems to vibrate behind your eyes. And then dash movement. Not on the ground this time, but overhead. A vast shadow gliding across the rocky slope, blotting out the sun for a heartbeat. You flinch, expecting the Dilophosaurs to have followed you. But no, the shadow is too large, too fluid. You raise your gaze and see them, a pair of pterosaurs soaring above the valley. Their wingspans are unimaginable, 20 feet or more, the leathery membranes stretched between elongated fingers. Their beaks are long, spear-like, and lined with delicate, needled teeth, adapted for snatching fish from prehistoric rivers. They circle once, twice, curious, but you are not their prey, not worth the effort. With a few languid beats of their wings, they drift away, gliding down the valley to vanish among the trees. The pterosaurs are gone, but the sense of smallness remains. You can't help but realize, here more than anywhere else, how delicate your body is, how little protection it offers. In this place, your skin is thin, your muscles weak, your senses dull. You are a visitor in a realm designed by evolution to test survival at every turn. Still, you limp on. The slope levels out. You step onto a stretch of cracked, pale mud as wide as a city. Street tracks are frozen here, in the dried silt a record of life from mere days or hours before. You see enormous round impressions from sauropods, three-toed prints from theropods, even tiny scratches where some small reptile dragged its tail. You pause and trace your fingers along one of the smaller sets of tracks. The toes are slender, delicate, almost bird-like. You imagine a little Compsognathessa, quick alert, scavenger racing across this ground in search of insects or eggs. Asterisk. The thought almost makes you smile, but the sensation is fleeting. A sudden wave of dizziness overtakes you, and you steady yourself, pressing a hand against your throbbing temple. Dehydration is setting in faster than you imagined. The heat, the exertion, the ferret, all conspires to weaken you. In the distance, you spot a dark line cutting across the plainer grove of trees clustered around what must be water. The thought of a river, or even a stagnant pool, is enough to push you onward. Each step is agony. The ache in your ankle is matched only by the raw, blistering burn across your shoulders and neck. Your heartbeat pounds in your ears. You lose all sense of time. Minutes stretch into hours. The sun climbs toward its zenith, blazing down with a merciless brightness. At last, you reach the edge of the grove. You collapse to your knees in the shade, panting, fighting the urge to simply curl up and close your eyes. But you know that sleep, here, would be surrender. And then blessed relief. You hear it, the soft burble of moving water. Crawling on your hands and knees, you find a narrow channel, a braided stream weaving among the roots. The water is cloudy, with silt, and tiny creatures flicker just beneath the surface. You plunge your hands in, scoop up a trembling mouthful, and drink. It is warm, gritty, and tastes of minerals you cannot name. But it is life. It is everything. For a few precious minutes, you simply breathe. The shade soothes your skin. The moisture revives you enough to think again, enough to remember that water alone will not protect you. You glance around the grove. The trees here are taller, their trunks splitting into wide, frond-like canopies. Great cycads cluster in patches of filtered sun. Every plant seems exaggerated big, more primal. Even the insects are monstrous. Dragonflies with wingspans the length of your forearm drift between the trees, but it is not the insects you fear. It is the predators. You force yourself to stand. Every instinct screams to stay here, in the shade, to rest. But you know you must keep moving. The Jurassic does not tolerate stillness for long. Your ears catch something, a rhythmic thumping, a vibration that travels up through your feet before it reaches your hearing. You turn, eyes scanning the edge of the clearing, and there, stepping into the dappled light, is a creature that seems at once familiar and impossibly strange. It is an Allosaurus, larger than any predator you have yet seen. Its massive skull, swinging side to side as it studies the grove. Two ridged crests rise above its eyes, like blunt horns. Its forearms are shorter than its hind legs, but tipped with powerful claws. Its tail balances it perfectly, swaying behind as it walks. It is a master of this world. Its yellow gaze flicks over you and passes on. For a moment, you feel invisible, insignificant. But then, with a slow deliberation, the Allosaurus shifts its attention back to you. Its nostrils flare. It sniffs the air. Recognition. It steps closer. You back away, heart hammering. Your hand grazes a fallen branch, and without thinking, you pick it up, though you know it offers no real defense. The Allosaurus pauses, cocking its head, as if puzzled by this small, hairless creature that dares to hold a stick. Then it opens its jaws. Rows of curved teeth glint in the dappled light, perfect tools, honed by millions of years of predation. You glimpse the pink of its throat, the black of its gullet, and the raw power in the muscles along its neck. You run. There is no choice. Survival is the only instinct left. You sprint through the grove, branches whipping your face, breath tearing. Your throat behind you, you hear the Allosaurus break into a trottage step, a heavy drumbeat of doom. You cannot outrun it. You know this, but you keep moving, because anything else is unthinkable. The trees thin. You burst onto another open stretch, this time, a floodplain, pitted with shallow pools and scoured channels. Your foot splashes into muddy water. Slipping, you fall hard, the branch flying from your grasp. You roll onto your back, chest heaving, eyes wide as the Allosaurus slows to a walk. It steps into the mud, each footfall sinking deep. For an instant, it seems to savor the moment, this easy kill. This fragile creature so out of place, and then a sound neither you nor the Allosaurus expect. a deep, resonant bellow louder than anything you have heard yet erupts from the far side of the floodplain. The Allosaurus snaps its head up, teeth bared, scanning for the source. From the trees emerges a titan, nearly 60 feet long, its massive bulk swaying. With each ponderous step, its long neck arches, head swinging to glare at the Allosaurus. Though not a predator, the sauropod is fully capable of defending itself and its tail. As thick as your body, could shatter bones with a single swipe. For a tense moment, predator and herbivore face each other. The Allosaurus hesitates, weighing the risk. It has no interest in a fight that could end in a broken limb. Slowly, grudgingly, it backs away, slinking into the trees. You lie there, trembling, as the Camarasaurus turns its head in your direction. Its small eyes study you with an almost placid disinterest. To it, you are neither threat nor prey merely. Another part of the landscape, it moves past you, each step shaking the ground. Its tail drags a shallow trench behind. When it disappears into the trees, the floodplain falls silent again. You have survived, barely. You push yourself upright, soaked in sweat and mud, your body racked with exhaustion. Your ankle throbs with every heartbeat, every muscle burns, but you are alive. The sky has begun to change. Clouds drift in from the horizon, thick, dark, promising rain. A distant rumble of thunder rolls across the plain. The thought of water, of cool relief, gives you strength. You begin to limp toward the nearest trees, searching for shelter before the storm breaks, and as you walk, you realize this is still only the first day. In the Jurassic, each dawn is another gauntlet, each night another gamble. The predators do not rest. The weather does not forgive. And you, a fragile visitor from a distant future, are always an instant away from extinction. You reach the shelter of a stand of cycads, just as the first heavy drops begin to fall. They strike your skin like warm coins, pattering against the waxy fronds overhead. For a moment, you close your eyes and let the rain soak you. It washes the sweat and grime from your face, cools the raw burns across your shoulders, and slakes a thirst that even the stream could not fully satisfy. But it also brings new hazards. The air thickens, heavy with petrichor and the scent of crushed foliage. The soil turns slick beneath your feet. Somewhere beyond the curtain of rain, something large is moving, branches snapping beneath its weight. You crouch low, heart racing again, straining to see through the sheets of water. Nothing emerges. You wait, scarcely daring to breathe, as the storm intensifies. The sky darkens until it feels more like twilight than afternoon. Lightning flickers along the ridge beyond the valley, illuminating the landscape in stark, brilliant flashes. Each bolt reveals glimpses of colossal shapes moving among the trees, sauropods retreating from the open plain, herds clustering together against the deluge. Every instinct urges you to find higher ground, to avoid the rising water pooling at your feet, but your ankle throbs with every heartbeat, making speed impossible. All you can do is pick your way uphill, step by agonizing step, searching for a hollow or overhang where you might shelter. By the time you find it, a shallow depression. Beneath the outspread roots of a fallen tree, you are shivering despite the heat. You crawl inside, curling your body to conserve warmth, and press your cheek to the damp earth. For a moment, you consider the luxury of sleep. But here, sleep is dangerous. Here, sleep can be the last decision you ever make, so you force your eyes to stay open and watch the storm. Hours pass. The rain becomes a steady, relentless roar, drumming against the canopy. The streams swell and spill over their banks, coursing across the floodplain in churning ribbons of brown water. You see logs bobbing in the current, swept along like driftwood. Anything smaller, a Campsognathus, a juvenile ornithopid, would be drowned or carried away without hope of rescue. Eventually, the worst of the storm begins to pass. The rain dwindles to a soft drizzle. The sky lightens, the clouds thinning to reveal a pallid evening sun sinking toward the horizon. You ease yourself out from under the roots and stand unsteadily, your legs quivering with fatigue. The air smells different, nokliner, almost sweet. The oppressive heat has faded, replaced by a damp, uncertain coolness. Every leaf drips with water. The landscape glistens, transformed into a glistening, primordial garden. For a fleeting moment, you feel something almost like awe. The world around you is both beautiful and merciless. It has no thought for your survival, no concern for your suffering. It simply is. You know you must keep moving. Nightfall will bring its own dangers. Predators that hunt by day may rest. but others nocturnal hunters will be rising from their hidden lairs. You cannot stay exposed. Step by slow step, you limp along the edge of the clearing, seeking higher ground where the water will not pool. The evening chorus of insects recess a shrill, pulsating wall of sound. Strange calls echo from deep within. The trees, hoots, croaks, rattles you cannot identify. And then something else. A low, deep rumble, not thunder this time. Closer, more deliberate. You turn and see the source. An enormous shape emerging from the tree line. A stegosaurus. A stegosaurus. It moves with slow, deliberate purpose, its tiny head swaying side to side. Along its arched back, 2 rows of massive plates rise like a living fortress. Its tail drags behind, tipped with 4 long spikes, thagomisers, capable of delivering lethal blows to any predator foolish enough to attack. For a moment, you almost feel safe in its presence. Stegosaurus does not care for your existence. It will not hunt you, will not challenge you. It is preoccupied with the search for low-growing plants to strip and swallow. But you also know better than to approach. Even an accidental swing of its tail could break you in half. So you stand perfectly still, scarcely breathing, as the armored giant ambles past. Its feet sink into the mud with each ponderous step, leaving deep oval impressions. When it finally disappears into the gathering dusk, you feel the tightness in your chest loosen. You exhale shakily and continue your search for shelter. At last, you find a place that feels almost defensible. A small rise of stone, just above the floodplain, where a tumble of boulders forms a natural alcove. A scattering of cycads grows. Nearby, their broad fronds forming a partial screen. You climb awkwardly over the rocks and settle into the shallow cavity, pressing your back against cool stone. Here, at least, you can see in all directions. Here, you will hear anything approaching. Here, you may survive the night. As darkness deepens, the stars begin to emerge, familiar constellations glittering in a sky unchanged for millions of years. You cannot recognize a single pattern. All of human history, all of human knowing, lies in a future that does not yet exist. You are utterly alone, but the stars give you something to hold onto, a reminder that even in this alien past, you share something with every creature that ever lived, the need to endure. You draw your knees to your chest, wrap your arms around your shins, and rest your forehead against your knees. Your eyelids grow heavy. You try to resist the pull of sleep, but exhaustion is too powerful. Slowly, you drift into a fitful, shallow doze. You do not know how long you sleep, but when you wake, the world has changed again. A cold mist has settled over the plain, swirling among the cycads and broken logs. The sky is ink black, the stars hidden behind high clouds. You hear something moving beyond your rocky shelter, a soft, rhythmic crunch of footfalls in the wet grass. Not the ponderous tread of ASAUROPOD. Something lighter, quieter, hunting. You hold your breath, straining to see. A shape emerges from the mistlows lung, sinuous, gliding forward with predatory confidence. It is a theropod, but smaller than the Allosaurus, perhaps 15 feet long, its body sleek and narrow. Its eyes catch the faint light glowing reflections that pin you where you sit. You do not move, do not even blink. The predator tilts its head, scenting the air. It steps closer, its nostrils flaring. You see the flash of teeth in its slender jaw. In this moment, you know you are not equipped for this place. No tool, no fire, no weapon. Your body is frail, your senses dull. You are no match for even the smallest hunter here. But you also know this. You must not surrender to panic. You must not reveal your fear. So you remain motionless. Long seconds crawl past. The predator studies you, perhaps uncertain whether you are worth the effort of attack, perhaps simply curious. Then, without warning, it snorts and turns away, disappearing into the mist as silently as it came. You exhale shakily, your pulse hammering in your throat. You are still alive, but the night is long, and the Jurassic does not grow less dangerous when the sun is gone. You draw your arms tighter around your body and wait, knowing dawn will bring new challenges. You must find food. You must find safer water. You must survive long enough to see a second day of feat few of your kind would ever achieve in this place. And as you sit in the darkness, you finally understand this world is not yours. It never was. It belongs to the titans and the hunters, the survivors and the unyielding. You are a trespasser, a fragile echo of a future that will not come for millions of years. Here, every breath is a borrowed miracle. And this is why you would not last a single day in the Jurassic Period. When dawn finally comes, it is not with the warm reassurance you expect. Instead, the morning is cold, colder than any time since you arrived. A thin bluish light seeps over the flooded plain, revealing pools of standing water rimmed with muddy debris. The storm has changed the landscape, carving new channels and depositing fresh layers of silt. The trees drip with condensation, their leaves gleaming in the dawn. You shift your aching body against the cold stone, feeling every bruise, every cut, every ragged scrape. It takes several minutes before you trust your legs to bear your weight. When you finally stand, a wave of dizziness washes over you. Your stomach twists painfully. Hunger has arrived, no longer a dull, background ache, but a gnawing desperation. You look around, searching for anything edible. But here, nearly everything is alien. No fruit you recognize. No tubers you know are safe. You think about the plants you studied in books, the reconstructions of prehistoric florasiticades, Benetiatals, primitive conifers, but none of those names tell you which leaves might poison you and which might sustain you. Cautiously, you stoop near a patch of low sap. Their cones are enormous fat armored lumps bristling with scales. You pry one open, your fingers slipping on the damp surface, and inside you find a cluster of pale seeds. They look a little like pine nuts. You sniff them. They smell earthy, pungent. You pick one between trembling fingers, your instincts warring with your hunger. Every cell in your body cries out for sustenance. But you know that even a single bite could be your last mistake. After a long moment, you drop the seed back into the cone. You cannot risk it. Not yet. Instead, you turn your attention to water. You limp toward the nearest pool, scooping a palmful. It is clear, purer than the muddy stream you found yesterday. You drink, slowly, carefully. The coolness soothes your raw throat. When you straighten again, something in the distance catches your eye. Across the plain, near the line of trees where the floodwaters receded, you see a shape sprawled in the grass. At first you think it must be a fallen branch or a log, but as the pale sunlight grows stronger, you see the outline more clearly. An animal. You hesitate, then begin to walk. Curiosity stronger than fear for the moment. Each step through the wet grass is deliberate. The closer you come, the clearer the scene becomes. It is a small ornithopod, perhaps a juvenile Dryosaurus. Its slender legs are tucked under its body. Its neck is curved toward the ground, eyes half closed in a glassy stare. It is dead, likely drowned in the storm or injured by debris swept along in the current. Though the sight fills you with sorrow, your mind is already calculating. In this world, compassion is a luxury you cannot afford. Here, a carcass means food if you are bold enough to claim it before something larger does. You kneel beside the animal, studying it. The skin is scaly, patterned in mottled greens and browns. Its belly is pale, already bloating slightly. Flies crawl over the wounds along its flank, long gashes where it must have scraped against rock. You have no blade, no tool, nothing but your hands. The thought of tearing flesh with your bare fingers makes your stomach heave, but hunger is stronger than disgust. With a trembling hand, you reach for the carcass. A sudden noise snaps your head up. A rustle in the grass, a shape moving low and quick. Only a few yards away, you freeze. Heart hammering. From behind a tangle of cycads emerges another predator, smaller than an Allosaurus, larger than the sleek hunter you saw in the night. Its body is built for speed, with long legs and a narrow skull. Its hide is patterned in stripes that break up its outline among the foliage. A Ceratosaurus. Its blunt horn juts forward from its snout. Its yellow eyes fix on you, then on the carcass at your feet. It knows as well as you do that here, food is life. For a moment, neither of you moves. You stare at each other across the wet grass, measuring, calculating. Then the Ceratosaurus lowers its head and begins a slow, deliberate approach. You understand instantly, this is no contest. You are no competitor. You are simply in the way. Your hand falls away from the dead Dryosaurus. You begin to back away, step by cautious step, never breaking eye contact. The predator watches you, muscles coiled beneath its patterned skin. Then, satisfied you are no threat, it lowers its jaws to the carcass and tears a long strip of flesh free. You do not wait to see more. You turn and limp away, heart thudding against your ribs. Behind you, the sounds of feeding wet you across the grass. When you finally dare to look back, the Ceratosaurus is crouched over its meal, paying you no further attention. You are forgotten. irrelevant. You press on, stomach churning with hunger and relief. Hours pass. The sun climbs higher. The mists burn away, revealing the plain in stark, brilliant detail. You pass giant cycads crowned with spiny cones. You see tracks in the mud, three-toed prints from smaller theropods, wide oval depressions from sauropods. At one point, you catch a glimpse of movement high in the sky, pterosaurs gliding effortlessly in the currents. But your mind is clouded now. Slowed by exhaustion, you have not eaten, you are injured. Even your fear has dulled to a hollow ache. By midday, you find another small stream trickling through a cut in the earth. You drink again, but it does nothing for your hunger. You sit on the bank, pressing your palm to your throbbing ankle, feeling the heat rising from the swelling. A part of you wonders how long you can go on like this. The Jurassic is patient. It does not rush. It will wait as long as it must for your body to fail. But you are not ready to surrender. Slowly, you stand and begin walking again. Somewhere ahead, the land rises into higher ground, rocky ridges and cliffs that overlook the floodplain. You tell yourself that if you can reach those heights, you will find shelter, perhaps even a vantage point to plan your next desperate steps. You limp onward. Every step a test of will. By late afternoon, the climb begins. The slope is gradual. At first a gentle swell of pale stone dappled with stunted ferns and scrubby conifers. Each footstep sends pebbles skittering down behind you. As you climb, the world opens around you. You look back and see the valley spread beneath the sky, rivers glinting in the sun, herds of sauropods moving like living mountains across the plains. In the distance, a cluster of stegosaurs browses among cicadas. A lone allosaurus prowls the margins, watching for weakness. It is a vision both magnificent and terrifying, a reminder that here, you are nothing. You climb higher still. Near the crest of the ridge, you find a narrow ledge of flat stone, shaded by the overhang of a weathered cliff. Here, at least, you can rest without fear of ambush from behind. You sink to the ground, back against the stone, and close your eyes. Your body is trembling, your breathing shallow, but you have survived another day. Night will come again, and with it, the predators. But for now, you are alive. Here, in the heart of the Jurassic, that is victory enough. That as the last light drains from the sky, the temperature begins to fall. The air that was stifling and heavy only hours ago now chills your skin, clinging damply to your clothes. You huddle against the rock, arms wrapped around your knees, your eyes fixed on the darkening landscape below. Night is coming, and with it, the second ordeal. Below the ridge, the world becomes a canvas of shifting shadows. Moonlight reveals the silhouettes of colossal bodies moving in slow procession across the floodplains. Sauropods, perhaps Apatosaurus or Diplodocus, their necks swaying gently as they graze. Even at this distance, you feel the faint tremor of their footfalls through the stone beneath you. But it is not the giants you fear. It is the other deep, small, purposeful, predatory, gliding like phantoms through the trees. In this world, night belongs to the hunters. Somewhere below, a chorus of calls erupts, a rasping, trilling cacophony that makes your skin prickle. It rises and falls in the darkness, punctuated by high-pitched shrieks that you cannot place. Every instinct urges you to stay perfectly still, to let the ridge hide you until dawn returns. But you also know that without food, your strength will continue to ebb. If you do not find anything to sustain you, you will not see the next sunset. With effort, you stand, your muscles stiff and protesting. You brace yourself against the rock and take a careful step along the narrow ledge. Each footfall sends a few pebbles clattering down the slope. Loud in the hush of night, you pause, heart hammering, listening for any sign that you've been noticed. Silence returns. Slowly, you continue. A little farther along the ridge, you discover a shallow cavity in the stone, no deeper than your own height, but enough to conceal you from most angles. You crawl inside and sit with your back pressed to the rock, feeling the rough grit beneath your palms. Here, at least, you are hidden. You allow yourself to breathe. Time passes in slow increments, measured by your own heartbeat, by the drifting of the moon across the sky. You do not know how many hours you sit there, your eyes heavy, your body slumping against the stone. At some point, you drift into a shallow, uneasy sleep. You dream of home, of ordinary things, light switches, soft blankets, clean water, the gentle murmur of a familiar voice. The dream is so vivid you almost believe you've returned. But when you open your eyes again, you are still here. Still in the Jurassic dot, your stomach cramps painfully. You feel lightheaded, your mouth dry as bone. You must move. You emerge from the cavity and look down the slope. A faint silver mist clings to the trees. Somewhere below, water trickles over rock, a sound that both beckons and warns. You begin to pick your way down, moving as silently as you can. The descent is slow. You test every foothold, every patch of loose stone. Once, your injured ankle slips, sending a sharp jolt of pain up your leg. You bite down on a cry, steady yourself, and continue. By the time you reach the valley floor, dawn is beginning to stir along the horizon. The darkness lifts in soft layers, revealing the world in pale shades of gray and green. Dot in the cold dawn light, you glimpse movement along the water's edge, a group of small dinosaurs clustered together, their narrow heads dipping to drink. They are no larger than turkeys, their bodies feathered in downy filaments that ripple with every movement. You watch them, captivated. Ornithologists perhaps, small theropods, quick and clever. They do not notice you, and for the first time since your arrival, you feel something like hope. These creatures have survived here. They have learned to navigate the dangers, to find food, to avoid the predators that prowl the margins of every clearing. Perhaps you can do the same. Carefully, you scan the undergrowth near the water. You spot a patch of low plants with broad, veined leaves smaller than the cycads you saw before. You stoop and tear one free, examining it closely. There are no obvious spines or signs of toxicity. You sniff the leaf, rub a corner against your skin. Nothing happens. Your hunger outweighs your caution. With shaking hands, you tear a small piece free and place it against your tongue. You wait, counting your breaths. No numbness, no bitter burn. You chew. The taste is astringent, fibrous, but your stomach clenches eagerly. You tear another piece free, and another, until you feel the edge of your hunger recede. When you finally stand, your legs feel steadier. You drink from the stream-cold, silty water that soothes your throat. As the light grows stronger, you rise and look back toward the ridge. From this vantage, the world seems impossibly vast, plains and forests stretching to the horizon. Herds of sauropods moving in silent procession, clouds of pterosaurs drifting overhead, and somewhere out there, the predators are waking. You take a slow, steadying breath. This is your life now. You will never be strong enough to face these creatures as equals. You will never be swift enough to outrun them. But perhaps, if you can be clever, if you can be careful, you can survive. Just a little longer. You turn away from the ridge and begin walking. Each step a quiet defiance of a world that does not care whether you live or die. As the sun climbs higher, the valley warms. Mist curls away from the trees. The day begins again, and you are still here, still alive. The day unfolds in a slow, relentless climb of heat. By mid-morning, the air has grown thick again, humid, pressing down on your shoulders like a weight. You move carefully, picking your way along the stream's edge, staying in the narrow corridor of shade wherever you can find it. Every few steps, you stop to listen. You are learning, painfully, that in this world, your senses are your only warning. You strain to hear the snap of a branch, the rustle of leaves, the quiet splash of something moving through water. Once, you pause to drink from a clear pool and catch your own reflection, a hollow-eyed stranger, face streaked with grime and sweat, hair matted and wild. Your skin has taken on a raw, scorched hue. Your lips are split and bleeding, but your eyes are still alert, still searching. You are not ready to give up. You move again, heading toward a stand of taller trees you glimpsed in the distance, conifers with trunks wide enough to shelter you from both the sun and the gaze of passing predators. The going is slow. Every step on your injured ankle feels like driving a spike into your bone, but you force yourself forward as you pass beneath the trees. You find the ground littered with strange debris, fragments of bark, fallen cones the size of melons, clusters of fungal growth that exude a faint, sour odor. You pick your way around them, careful not to touch anything you don't recognize. Suddenly, a low, shuddering groan ripples through the earth. You freeze, feeling the vibration in the soles of your feet. You turn slowly, scanning the spaces between the trunks. Another groan out, but this time, almost a rumble. The ground seems to flex underfoot, as if some buried machinery is stirring. Then the trees ahead part, and your heart seizes. A massive, humped form moves into view. The body alone is the size of a bus, the skin rough and pebbled, striped with shadows. A clubbed tail sways behind it, heavy as a wrecking ball. As it shifts, its armored backplates catch the sun, glinting like dull metal. Ankylossaurus. It moves with slow certainty, its tiny head lowered as it roots among the ferns. You can see its beak-like mouth tearing up whole plants in ragged mouthfuls. It is one of the most heavily defended creatures ever to walk the earth, more fortress than animal. Even an Allosaurus would think twice before attacking. You stand, perfectly still, scarcely breathing. To be seen is to be noticed. To be noticed is to invite danger, even from creatures that have no interest in you. An accidental step could be your undoing, but the Ankylosaurus pays you no mind. It feeds methodically, tearing ferns from the forest floor, swallowing them in chunks. When it moves on, the ground trembles in its wake. You exhale shakily and step away from the path it has trampled. Your hunger gnaws at you again. The leaves you ate earlier are not enough to sustain you. You scan the lower branches, searching for anything else, edible, something, anything that doesn't look toxic. At last, you find a tangle of broad, veined leaves growing in the dappled light near a fallen trunk. They look similar to the ones you tested before, but larger, almost succulent. Cautiously, you tear free a small portion. You test it against your skin, then your tongue. Nothing. You chew, slowly, wincing at the bitter taste. But relief floods you when your stomach does not rebel. It is not a feast, but it is enough to push back the edge of desperation. You keep moving, deeper into the grove. Here, the air feels cooler, sheltered from the worst of the sun. The trees rise in massive columns, their trunks flaring at the base into broad buttresses. Insects drone among the foliage, some of them as large as your palm. A few times, you glimpse small lizards skittering across the bark, slim, quick shapes that vanish when you approach. Hours pass in a slow, cautious crawl. You do not dare to relax fully. Every rustle could be a threat. Every shadow could hide something waiting to test your luck. At midday, you come upon another stream. This one, flowing over smooth stones in a narrow channel. The water is clearer here, shimmering in patches of sunlight. You drink, splash it over your face and neck, feeling the grime dissolve. You almost smile at the sensation. For a moment, just a moment, you allow yourself to believe you are learning to survive. But the Jurassic has no patience for complacency. A sudden, shrill call breaks the quiet, an alarm you feel before you understand. It comes from high in the trees. You look up and see a flock of small, feathered creatures erupting from the canopy. Their wings beat the air in a frenzy of color and noise. Then you hear it, a rhythmic crashing, brush snapping, ferns whipping aside, the steady impact of something big, moving at speed. You turn, scanning the trees, your pulse leaping into your throat. Through the gaps between the trunks, you see the hunter emerge, an Allosaurus, taller at the hip than you stand, jaws parted in a silent snarl. Its gaze locks onto the fleeing flock. But then it catches the shape of your movement, your pale skin among the green end. Its head jerks toward you. Time stops. For one suspended instant, you meet its eyes, yellow, cold, appraising. Then it begins to walk toward you. Not a charge, just a deliberate, confident approach. It does not need to hurry. You are cornered. Your ankle cannot carry you far. You look around, desperate for any escape. The trees are too widely spaced to climb. The stream too shallow to hide you. You back away, step by trembling step, but the predator matches you. Closing the distance, instinct takes over. You grab a branch, no, thicker than your wristband, hold it out in front of you, though you know it will not matter. The Allosaurus halts, tilts its head, as if amused by the gesture. Then it steps forward again. Suddenly, the ground beneath your feet gives way. The soft soil, undermined by the stream, collapses into a shallow sinkhole. You fall in a shower of dirt and pebbles, landing hard on your side. Pain explodes along your ribs. You gasp, struggling to push yourself up. Overhead, the Allosaurus peers down, eyes bright in the shadows. It hesitates, testing the edge of the pit with one clawed foot. The earth shifts under its weight. The predator jerks back, frustrated. It paces along the rim, its tail lashing the undergrowth. You crouch, clutching your ribs, heart hammering. You know this reprieve will not last. If the Allosaurus decides to wait, it can simply outlast you. You have nowhere to go, but luck blind. Indifferent luck has intervened again. A distant roar cuts through the trees. Another breach. A rival Allosaurus proclaims its presence. Your hunter pauses, lifts its head to listen. Its tail goes rigid. It turns away from the pit, staring into the deeper forest. A moment later, it begins to walk slow at first, then faster, abandoning you for the promise of easier prey. You slump against the side of the pit, every muscle shaking. You are alive again, and you know this world will never stop testing you. You claw your way up the loose slope, dragging yourself back to the surface. Every movement is agony, but you force yourself to stand, to keep moving, because in the Jurassic, stillness is surrender. As you limp into the trees, you look back once, just to be sure the Allosaurus is truly gone. The undergrowth is empty. For now, you turn away, bracing yourself for the next hour, the next challenge, the next chance to fail or survive. Here, that is all there is. You press deeper into the forest, every step an act of stubborn defiance. The adrenaline that saved you moments ago begins to ebb, leaving behind a bone-deep weariness. Your ribs throb where you struck the earth. Your ankle is so swollen now that each movement is a spasm of pain, but still your feet keep moving, because stopping means death. The light shifts as the day stretches toward afternoon. Shadows pool beneath the sun, painting the forest floor in patterns that dazzle and confuse the eye. The trees here grow so densely that only ragged shafts of sunlight break through, gleaming on the scales of insects the size of your hand. Once, you pause to rest against a gnarled conifer, your breath ragged, your body is failing. You can feel it in the tremor of your limbs, the dull ringing ache behind your eyes, but even now, some hidden core of determination keeps you upright. You tell yourself, if you survive until nightfall, you will rest. That promise, small as it is, pushes you onward. Hours crawl past. You find another stream and drink again, though your stomach twists with hunger that water can't ease. A grove of broad-leaved plants offers more bitter greenery to chew, and you force yourself to swallow it. Every mouthful tastes of dirt and sap, but it keeps you moving. And movement, here, is everything that you push out of the thickest trees and step into a different landscape, more open. A place where the forest gives way to a wide meadow of ferns. The afternoon sun strikes you full in the face, so bright it makes you squint. For a few moments, you stand blinking, overwhelmed by the view. Across the clearing, a herd of enormous dinosaurs grazes in silence. Their necks sway in slow arcs as they strip leaves from the taller side. Their tails move like pendulums, flicking at insects and the smaller creatures that dare to approach. Diplodocus. Even at this distance, you can feel the power in their movements. Each footstep is a deliberate, massive event. Their backs are ridged, with spines that catch the light in ragged rows. From time to time, one lifts its head to scan the treetops with dull, placid eyes. You watch them, breath caught in your throat. They are the reason this world feels so alien, these living monuments to deep time. You are a visitor in an age not made for you, an age that will grind you to dust without hesitation. But as long as you are here, you are also witness to something no human was ever meant to see. For a little while, you simply stand, letting awe and fear mingle in equal measure. And then you see the movement at the edges of the meadow, a flash of pale, scaled hide slipping between ferns, a long, narrow head rising above the greenery. Not one predator. They prowl in a loose arc, eyes fixed on the same target, a juvenile Diplodocus, grazing near the margin of the clearing, separated from the safety of the herd. Allosaurus, again, but working as opportunists rather than solitary hunters. You watch as they close in, moving with dreadful purpose. You should turn away, you should run, but your legs refuse to obey, because in that moment, you understand, you are about to see something almost no one in history ever witnessed: a real hunt, ancient and unfiltered, the raw mechanics of survival played out in slow motion. You crouch in the shadow of a cat, barely daring to breathe. One Allosaurus steps into the open, first head, low, jaws parted just enough to show the curve of its teeth. The young Diplodocus lifts its head, eyes widening in sudden comprehension. It begins to back away, braying in panic. The other two predators break cover, flanking it. The herd stirs, massive bodies turning, tails lashing, but too far away to intervene. The nearest Allosaurus lunges. For an instant, the meadow explodes in motion, ferns flattened under thrashing limbs. The juvenile's neck whipping side to side in terror. The Allosaurus clamps its jaws around the base of the neck, pulling sideways, trying to topple it. The second predator darts in to bite the foreleg. The third hangs back, watching, waiting for the right moment. You feel your pulse in your throat, your temples, your fingertips. In the end, the outcome is inevitable. The juvenile collapses under the weight of the attackers, its cries cutting off in a wet, shuddering gasp. The allosaurs hold it down with their claws, working their jaws back and forth until the struggling ceases. Silence returns. The herd retreats into the trees, leaving the fallen behind. You realize you have been holding your breath. You exhale, your hands shaking so badly you can barely steady them. This is what the Jurassic demands. Strength, cooperation, relentless determination. And you, frail, starving, unarmed, have none of these things. None of these things. You slip away before the predators notice you, moving with a careful, silent urgency back into the trees. You walk until your legs fail, and you sink to your knees in the shade of a towering conifer. The canopy above is so high it feels like a sky all its own. You lean back against the trunk and close your eyes. Your body aches in places you didn't know could hurt. Every breath is a struggle, but you are alive. You have seen what no one else has seen, and you have lasted another day. Shadows lengthen, the air cools. Dusk steals across the forest like a living thing. As the last light fades, you feel something you haven't allowed yourself to feel since you arrived. A flicker of pride. You should not have survived this long, but you have. And as night rises around you, filling the world with the soft, predatory music of ancient darkness, you make yourself a quiet promise. You will not give up. Not yet. The last glow of sunset bleeds away behind the treetops, leaving you wrapped in darkness. The heat of the day has drained from the ground, replaced by a damp chill that seeps into your skin. Every muscle trembles with exhaustion, but you don't dare close your eyes. Night here is a living presence, an invisible predator that breathes between the trees. You huddle against the base of the conifer, your back pressed into the curve of the roots. Each sound makes you flinch. The rustling of unseen creatures moving in the ferns, the soft splash of something crossing the stream, the dry click of insects the size of your hand. Hours crawl past. The moon resides an unfamiliar disk that floods the clearing with a cold, pale glow. You can see farther now, though you almost wish you couldn't. Shapes move at the edge of vision, small theropods, scavengers testing the dark for opportunity. Once, you spot a pair of bright eyes watching you from the undergrowth. You hold still, heart hammering, and after a long moment, the creature slips away, vanishing without a sound. You know you cannot survive many more nights like this. Your body is failing. You feel it in the leaden weight of your limbs, the raw pain in your ribs, the way your thoughts slow and blur when you try to plan. Hunger claws at you constantly, never letting you forget how little energy remains in your veins. Sometime near midnight, you drift into a shallow, broken doze. You dream of water-cool, clean water and of home, a place where nothing hunted you, where walls and light were enough to keep the darkness out. When you wake, it is because something nearby has begun to scream. Your eyes fly open. The forest is black, except where the moonlight filters down in silver beams. The screaming rises and falls in hoarse, terrified bursts. You don't know what creature makes the sound. You don't want to find out. You force yourself to your feet, gritting your teeth against the pain in your ankle. Slowly, you limp away from the noise, deeper into the trees. With each step, the screams fade behind you, but the silence that follows is worse, because now you are sure something is hunting nearby and you have no idea whether it is satisfied or still searching. The darkness presses closer. You slip between tree trunks, moving as quietly as you can. Your foot catches on a fallen branch, and you nearly topple into a tangle of low sound. Every sound you make feels impossibly loud. Eventually, you find a narrow gully carved by some ancient stream. It isn't much of a hiding place, but it is lower than the surrounding ground. You ease yourself into it and crouch, folding your body into as small a shape as you can manage. Here, you wait. Minutes pass, then hours. The night drags on and on. Your thoughts drift unmoored by exhaustion. You remember the first time you read about the Jurassic, the illustrations of towering sauropods, the diagrams of Allosaurus skulls. You remember how safe it all felt in books and museum exhibits. No one told you about the smell of rotting vegetation, about the way your heart never stops racing, about the bone-deep certainty that you do not belong here. You press your forehead into your hands and breathe slowly, trying to stay awake. The darkness begins to lift almost imperceptibly. At first you think it's a trick of your eyes, but then you see the color returning to the leaves overhead. A pale, uncertain dawn is rising. You survived the night. Again. When you stand, the effort makes you dizzy. Your legs threaten to collapse, but you steady yourself against the gully's edge and haul your aching body up onto firmer ground. The world is hushed in the early light. For a few precious minutes, nothing stirs but insects. You take advantage of the lull to move. Your steps are slow. Each one is deliberate, measured. You force yourself to keep going because you know the predators will be waking with the sun. You must find water. You must find food. You limp toward a stand of cycads near the edge of the clearing. Their broad leaves are heavy with dew, and you brush them over your lips, licking the moisture. It helps a little, though the dryness in your throat never fully leaves. As the light strengthens, you glimpse more movement in the distance, more herbivores picking their way across the ferns. A flock of feathered creatures the size of geese picks at the base of a fallen tree, their bright eyes darting in every direction. Ornithologists know something smaller. You watch them, hoping they'll lead you to something you can eat. But as you take a cautious step closer, the flock startles and explodes into motion, darting into the underbrush with a flurry of wings and shrill cries. Your hope evaporates. You keep walking, skirting the edge of the clearing, trying to stay hidden among the low brush. At the far side of the meadow, you come upon something unexpected, a patch of mushrooms clustered among rotting wood. You crouch, examining them. Smooth caps, pale stems, no obvious spines or slime. You remember something you once read. Many fungi of this era were ancestors of the mushrooms you know today, but that knowledge is no guarantee these are safe. Your hunger leaves you no choice. You pick one, rub a sliver on your skin. Wait, no irritation. You place it on your tongue, holding it there for a long count. Nothing. When you chew, the texture is spongy, almost chalky. The flavor is mild, less bitter than the leaves you've been forcing down. You eat another, and another. Cautiously, you feel your strength return by the smallest degree. It is not enough, but it is something. You rest. For a while, pressed into the shadows beneath a leaning trunk. The sun climbs higher, washing the clearing in gold. You watch the light creep toward you, feeling the heat soak into your bones. That you have survived 2 nights, 2 days. In this place. That is a victory beyond imagining. You close your eyes and breathe. You are not strong, not fast, not suited for this world, but you are still here. And for one moment, one small, defiant heartbeat, you feel something like hope. The sun climbs higher, drawing the dew out of the ferns and cycads. The air thickens by degrees, pressing its weight down on your shoulders. You feel it in your bones. This place is ancient, and it has no sympathy for you. Yet, even as you ache in every limb, you find yourself moving again. Instinct propels you. Find water, find shelter, avoid the shadows that move with too much purpose. You skirt the clearing's edge, staying among the low cycads. The mushrooms you found have eased the worst of your hunger, but your body still feels hollow. Your thoughts drift, slow and heavy as the humid breeze. Every so often, you catch glimpses of movement, a tail slipping through the ferns, the flash of a narrow, curious head before it vanishes. Not all of the dinosaurs here are giants. Some are small, cautious creatures that live their entire lives in the shadows of larger beasts. You envy them. Near midday, you discover a shallow depression in the ground, littered with trampled plants and dark stains that you realize, with a cold twist of your stomach, must be old blood. The earth here has been churned by massive feet. You crouch, feeling the compacted soil. A kill site. Some ancient struggle played out here, days or hours before you arrived. You can almost see it. The prey staggering, the predators circling. The last hopeless struggle. A reminder, if you needed one, that you are trespassing in a world of violence. You move on, more wary than before. A little farther, the land begins to slope upward. You find yourself climbing an incline littered with rubble blocks of sandstone that have sheared away from some cliff high above. The footing is treacherous. More than once, you slip, your injured ankle threatening to fold under you. But you force yourself higher. You tell yourself, if you can reach higher ground, you will be able to see what's coming. You climb until the trees thin out. At the top of the rise, you stand among ragged rocks, the wind tugging at your hair. Below you, the valley stretches in every direction, rivers gleaming like veins of silver, vast meadows of ferns, groves of conifers swaying in the heated breeze. From here, you can see the sauropod herd more clearly. Diplodocus, moving with slow, ponderous grace. Each one is as long as a train car, their tails trailing behind them like living whips. You feel the same awe you felt the first time you saw them, reverence so deep it borders on grief. And further out, along the tree line, you spot other shapes, smaller hunters, moving in loose formation. Too far to be sure, but the pattern is unmistakable. A stalking approach. You know you can't stay here. The ridge is exposed, a vantage point, not just for you, but for anything that might be watching. But you linger a few heartbeats longer, letting your eyes drink in the view. This is the world as it was before humans ever dreamed of taming it, a place where survival is the only law. Eventually, you turn away, picking your way along the ridge toward a narrow gully that looks more sheltered. You ease yourself down among the rocks, grateful for the shade. Here, you can rest without fear of being seen from afar. For a time, you sit motionless, listening to the drone of insects and the distant calls of colossal throats. The Jurassic seems almost peaceful from here if you forget that every creature you see could end your life without hesitation. You pull your knees to your chest and close your eyes. When you wake, the shadows have shifted again. Late afternoon is gathering, the sun angling low behind the trees. You realize you've slept longer than you meant to. Panic stirs in your chest, but you force yourself to breathe. You stand carefully, testing your ankle. The pain is worse than before, but you can still walk. You pick your way down the slope, feeling your way between the boulders. The air has cooled a fraction, though it's still thick with the scent of resin and damp earth. At the base of the ridge, you find a narrow path that winds between the trees. It is littered with scat and footprints, some nearly the length of your forearm. You study them, heart fluttering. Allosaurus, recent. You crouch, pressing your palm into the depression. The edges are still crisp. They passed here not long ago. You step carefully off the trail, easing into the denser undergrowth. You can't risk being caught in the open again. The light continues to fade. Evening is coming on. You limp through the ferns, your eyes straining to pierce every shadow. Each movement in the foliage tightens the knot in your stomach. You think of the juvenile Diplodocus you watched go down under a pack of jaws, and you know your end would come even faster. At last, you find a fallen conifer, massive as a freight car. The roots jut into the air in a tangle that forms a shallow hollow beneath them. Not a fortress, but shelter enough to hide you from casual eyes. You crawl inside, curling up among the tangles of old roots. The space smells of rot and damp wood. You can't bring yourself to care. Here, at least, you can rest. You lay your head on your folded arm, fighting to stay awake. But your body insists on surrender. Before your mind goes fully under, you think, you have survived 3 days. 3 days in a world that does not want you. 3 days longer than you should have managed. You close your eyes, listening to the evening chorus, begin a tapestry of calls and cries that no human was ever meant to hear. And then sleep takes you, deep and dreamless. You wake in darkness so complete you can't tell whether your eyes are open or closed. For a moment, you don't know where you are. You feel only the cold pressing against your skin, the ache in your ribs, and the pounding of your heart. Then, memory floods back. 3 days of hunger and terror. The shapes of predators moving through the ferns. The crush of an ancient world that never relents. You draw a slow breath, feeling the damp air slide into your lungs. You keep perfectly still, listening. Somewhere beyond the roots of your shelter, a steady rustle moves through the undergrowth. Not the slow, random sound of herbivores feeding. This is purposeful, careful, searching. Your pulse thunders in your ears. You tell yourself not to move, not to breathe more than you must. A moment later, something heavy brushes the fallen trunk above you, a scrape of scales on old wood. You clamp your jaw shut to hold in the noise that wants to escape. A shadow falls across the small gap in the roots, blocking even the faint starlight. For a moment, you see nothing but darkness. Then, as your eyes adjust, you glimpse the curve of a narrow snout. The shape passes across the opening. Slow and deliberate, it sniffs. You press yourself deeper into the hollow, feeling splinters dig into your back. The snout withdraws. Silence returns. You wait, counting your heartbeat, until you lose track of the numbers. Only when you are sure it's gone do you allow yourself a shaky exhale. You shift your weight and feel pain lance up your injured leg. Your whole body is stiff and numb, as if you've been carved from the same stone you crawled across days before. But you are alive. That fact feels like a fragile miracle. Minutes passed, then hours. Your thoughts drift in and out of uneasy dreams. You imagine home again, though each time you picture it, the details feel fainter, less real, as if that world is receding behind you. And this one is all that remains. When you rouse fully, it is because something has changed. The darkness outside your shelter has taken on a softer tone. You peer between the roots and see the faintest hint of gray in the sky. Dawn. You uncurl yourself carefully. Your joints protest every movement, but you force your limbs to obey. Know that if you stay here longer, you may never stand again. When you crawl out from under the roots, the early light finds you blinking and unsteady. The world around you is painted in shades of silver and charcoal. The night's chill lingers in every hollow. You look around, bracing for the sight of a predator watching you from the trees, but the clearing is empty. For the first time, you allow yourself a ragged breath that doesn't catch in your throat. Your fourth day begins. The realization sinks in. You are surviving by inches. Every dawn you've seen has been a victory purchased by fear and luck. You know it can't last forever, but the fact that it has lasted this long fills you with something you hesitate to name: hope or just stubbornness. You don't know. You begin moving, slowly, carefully. You skirt the edges of the clearing, staying near the trees. Your foot drags more than it lifts now. You can't hide how much you're failing, but you keep going. You find another patch of mushrooms, smaller and paler than the last. You test them, as you've learned to do on your skin. Then your tongue, no burning, no numbness. You chew them down one by one, feeling the edge of your hunger ease. Not satisfied, never satisfied, but quieted for a while. When the sun rises fully, you are already moving again, searching for water. Each step takes you deeper into the forest, where the shadows stay longer and the trees grow in twisted, ancient shapes. By late morning, you come upon something that stops you in your tracks. A vast wall of stone rears up before you, half hidden by ferns and fallen trunks. At first, you think it's a cliff, but as you draw closer, you see it isn't natural. It's a massive outcropping of petrified woodland, ancient grove turned to stone over millions of years. The trunks are fused into a single rampart, their bark frozen in perfect detail. You reach out and lay your hand on the nearest column. The surface is cool and smooth under your palm. For the first time in days, you feel a moment of something like peace. This forest remembers a time before the dinosaurs that hunt you, a time before any of the creatures you've seen ever took shape. In the face of such time, your presence here feels impossibly small. You lean against the petrified trunk, letting yourself rest. You don't know how long you stand there, feeling the warmth of the rising sun soak into your skin. At last, you straighten and keep moving, weaving through the maze of ancient stone. Beyond the outcrop, the trees thin again. A broad, shallow basin opens in the land, carpeted in low ferns. You pause at the edge, scanning the clearing for any movement. At first, you see nothing. Then a shape rises among the plants. Massive skull lifting on a thick neck, a beak-like mouth working methodically over the greenery. A stegosaurus. You feel your breath catch. That stands as tall as a small house, each step measured and ponderous. Its back plates rise in a double row, catching the morning light in rusty reds and deep brown shadows. The spiked tail sways behind it, each movement deliberate. It doesn't see you. You crouch low, watching. For a few minutes, you allow yourself to simply observe, struck by the quiet certainty of its life. No fear, no doubt, just the endless rhythm of eating and moving, day after day, in a world where you survive minute by minute. You almost envy it. At last, you back away, carefully, step by step, until the shape vanishes behind the ferns. You turn and walk on. You don't know how long you can endure this. You don't know whether you'll see another sunrise, but you have survived one more night. One more dawn. And here in the Jurassic, that is the only measure of success. By midday, the sun is again a merciless weight pressing down through the canopy. The cool hush of dawn has vanished, replaced by the sticky heat that seems to crawl into your lungs. You force yourself to keep moving, though each step feels more like a negotiation with your own failing body. You skirt the edge of the basin where the stegosaurus grazes, moving as quietly as you can. Your injured ankle drags with every stride, but you grit your teeth and focus on each small goal. One more tree, one more patch of shade, one more breath. Ahead, The ground slopes downward into a narrow channel cut by a shallow stream. The water glints in the noon light, promising relief you can scarcely imagine. You swallow, feeling your cracked lips and the rasp of your dry throat. You descend carefully, testing each foothold. The soil is loose here, crumbly with silt and ancient leaf matter. Twice you nearly lose your balance. Each time you steady yourself with trembling hands. At last you reach the stream. You collapse beside it, your knees in the mud. The water is warm and murky, but you don't care. You scoop handfuls to your mouth, swallowing in great greedy gulps. It's the first time since you arrived that you feel truly quenched. You lean back on your heels, gasping. All around you, the jungle hums with insect life. In this small hollow, the world feels almost ordinary, like a summer creek bed you might have visited as a child. Almost. But then you hear it, a soft, rhythmic impact, like slow footsteps somewhere upstream. Your relief turns instantly to dread. You ease yourself into the reeds along the bank, lying flat. A moment later, a colossal foot comes down in the shallow's broad, padded toes pressing into the silt. Water eddies around the limb. You freeze, scarcely daring to blink. Another step, and another. A long, low form emerges, a creature nearly as big as the stegosaurus you saw earlier, but with an altogether different bearing. Its tail drags behind it like a thick, muscular cable. Its back is ridged with bony scutes, and its elongated skull tapers to a blunt snout lined with rows of conical teeth. Sarcosuchus. You knew, distantly, that such predators existed in this era. Giant crocodilar forms, older than any modern crocodile, capable of taking down dinosaurs at the water's edge. But knowing was one thing, seeing was something else entirely. The Sarcosuchus pauses, lowering its jaw into the current. Water floods its mouth. You hear the soft clack of its jaws snapping closed again. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, it moves past you, never raising its head. Each step is deliberate, unhurried. You remain still as stone. You can't tell whether it has noticed you and simply doesn't care, or whether you've been lucky again. At last it slides back into deeper water. The ripples fade. The reeds sway in the heat. You count to 100 before you dare to move. When you rise, your legs are so stiff you nearly fall again. You creep along the bank, keeping to the shallows, where the water might mask your scent. Every few steps, you pause to scan the stream for any sign the Sarcosuchus has circled back, but the water remains undisturbed. You climb the opposite bank, dragging yourself into the shade. There, you collapse against the bole of a conifer, feeling your heart hammering in your chest. Your body is finished. You know it in the quiet way you know when a storm is coming, an inevitability that requires no more proof. Still, you rest a moment. You watch the stream below, the warm air shimmering above it. You try to imagine a life here, day after day, of finding mushrooms, dodging predators, searching for clean water. You wonder if your mind would survive it, even if your body did. But you don't have the luxury to dwell on those thoughts for long. The sun is sliding westward. Evening will come again, and with it the night hunters. If you stay here, the Sarcosuchus or something worse will return. You push yourself upright and limp into the trees. You don't think about tomorrow or the day after. You think only of the next hour, the next safe place to hide, the next small victory. That is how you have lasted this long. Ahead, the forest darkens. The trees grow thicker, their trunks merging into a kind of living wall. You slip into the gloom, grateful for the shelter, even as every shadow feels like a threat. Your footfalls are nearly silent now. You've learned how to place each step carefully, how to keep your breathing low, how to become something small enough that this world might overlook you. You walk until you can walk no more. When you find another fallen trunk, its hollow underside, open just enough to crawl beneath, you drop to your hands and knees and drag yourself inside. This time, you don't even try to stay awake. The darkness wraps around you, warm and heavy. You close your eyes and surrender to it. If you are lucky, you will wake again. If not, at least you lasted longer than anyone could have believed. You wake in darkness so complete, it feels as though the forest has swallowed you. For long moments, you lie motionless, listening to the blood pound in your ears, waiting to remember who you are and why you are here. When the memories come disjointed, undeniably feel something inside you give way, a quiet resignation that settles into your bones. You have survived so many impossible moments that you no longer believe in rescue. You believe only in the next breath, and so you take it. The hollow beneath the fallen tree is damp and close. The air smells of rot and old sap. Your muscles ache in ways you didn't know were possible. Your ankle throbs in slow pulses, every beat a reminder of how fragile your hold on life has become. You press your palm to your face, feeling the grime and the heat of fever beneath your skin. You tell yourself you will not die tonight. Outside your shelter, the night is alive with movement, soft footfalls in the ferns, the rasp of scales on bark. Once, a low, shuddering growl that seems to come from everywhere at once. You wait, holding your breath. When the silence returns, it is so complete that you wonder if the forest itself is listening. Hours pass. You drift in and out of a shallow, uneasy sleep. Each time you wake, you find yourself in the same darkness, the same suffocating hush. You lose track of time when the first grey light seeps into the hollow. You are already awake, staring into nothing. Dawn. You feel no triumph this time, only the dull realization that you must get up again, move again, survive again. You ease yourself from the shelter. Your legs buckle, and you fall to your knees in the loam. It takes everything you have to rise. When you straighten, the world swims before your eyes. Grey trees, dark ferns, the ragged undergrowth where something large has passed. You swallow, tasting the bitterness of your own hunger. You limp forward. Each step is a negotiation with pain. You no longer try to hide the sounds you make. Your body is too broken to care about stealth. But the forest does not reward pity. It offers no safety. As the sun climbs, the heat gathers again. You feel it pressing down on you like a hand. You keep going, one slow step after another, because stopping is the same as dying. Sometime near midday, you find another stream. The water is shallow and brown, but you drink anyway, ignoring the taste of mud. It is all you have. When you look up, you see movement on the far bank. At first, your heart stops, convinced it is another predator. But as the shape resolves, you realize it is something else entirely. A herd of camerous herbivores, their skin gray mottled with pale streaks of old scars. They stand shoulder to shoulder, moving with a slow, dreamlike grace. Each footstep leaves a crater in the soft earth. Their tails sway in gentle arcs, that you watch them, too tired even to feel fear. If they crush you underfoot, at least it will. Be quick, but they do not notice you. They graze and drink, unbothered by your presence. You sit down in the mud, your back against a low boulder. You watch the herd move in the water. Time blurs. The sun inches overhead, and you drift in and out of a half-sleep where your dreams feel no different from waking. At some point, the Camarasaurus move on. The ground shakes as they vanish into the trees. You are alone again. You force yourself to stand. You limp along the stream, following it deeper into the forest. The air grows cooler under the canopy. The ferns here are taller, the trunks of the trees so wide you could not encircle them with your arms. You feel a strange calm settle over you. Not relief, never relief, but a quiet acceptance. This place is not your enemy. It is simply what it is, ancient, merciless, indifferent. You are the intruder. You always were. At the next bend in the stream, you find something you didn't expect. A skeleton, long-necked, half buried in mud and roots. The bones are massive, pale against the dark soil. A sauropod, dead perhaps a season or more. The ribs arch into the air like the frame of a shipwreck. You stand beside it, resting your hand on the smooth curve of a vertebra. The bone is warm from the morning sun. Once, this creature moved through the same trees, lived under the same sky. Now it is just another part of the forest. You wonder if you will end the same way. Part of you thinks it would not be so bad, but another part, a small, defiant ember buried deep, whispers that you are not finished, not yet. You keep moving as the day stretches on. You find another stand of mushrooms, clinging to the base of an ancient conifer. You test them with the same ritual care. No burning, no numbness. You eat them slowly, your hands shaking when you finish. You sink to your knees beside the tree, your breath ragged. The forest is quiet. Even the insects seem to have paused their endless clamor. You close your eyes and rest your forehead against the bark. You have survived 4 nights, 4 days. No one would have believed it possible. You open your eyes and look up through the branches. High overhead, the sky is a pale, perfect blue. For one heartbeat, a single, impossible instant, you feel something close to peace. You stay under the ancient conifer until the sun has crossed half the sky. The heat softens the ground beneath you, turning the moss into a warm cushion. For a little while, you allow yourself to believe you are safe, but nothing here stays safe. For long. By early afternoon, the air changes. The breeze that has stirred the treetops all morning vanishes, replaced by a dense, breathless stillness. The insects fall silent. Even the small creatures that skitter among the ferns withdraw into burrows and hollows. You feel the shift without knowing why. Some old, unnameable instinct tightens your chest. You stand, leaning heavily against the trunk. Your body feels heavier than ever, your limbs swollen and slow. You take one step, then another, moving back toward the stream, unsure what compels you. Only that standing still feels suddenly, dangerously wrong. When you reach the water, the surface is a perfect mirror, unbroken by current or breeze. The sky reflected there is almost too bright to look at. You crouch, cupping a handful of water to your lips. You swallow and lift your head. That's when you feel it. A low vibration, too deep to be sound. It rolls up through the soles of your feet, through your knees and hips, into your chest. A trembling that seems to shake the trees themselves. Something is coming. You stagger upright and turn in a slow circle. Nothing moves in the forest. No shapes part the ferns. No shadows slip between the trees. But the vibration is growing. You limp along the stream bank, heart hammering. Your breath is ragged. The old injury in your ankle throbs with every step, but you can't stop. You don't know what you're running from, only that you must not be here when it arrives. Ahead, the stream curves around a massive sandstone outcrop, its base eaten away by centuries of flood. You slip behind it, pressing yourself against the cool stone. You crouch there, gasping, every nerve alight. The trembling grows into a rhythmic thunder. Then you see them, through a gap in the ferns. You glimpse the first colossal head, lifting above the undergrowth, a long, narrow skull, nostrils flaring as it tastes the air. Another appears beside it, and another, neck after neck, rising from the forest floor like pale columns. Dip, lodocus. Not a handful this time, a migrating herd. Dozens of them, each as long as a locomotive. Their skin is grey-blue and dusty, scored with old scars. Their tails sway in slow counterbalance as they advance. You crouch lower, heart straining. You know that if they pass too close, the ground alone might shake you from your hiding place. The first animals emerge fully into view. They move in slow ranks, heads swaying in a long fluid motion as they graze. The forest seems to part for them, trees creaking under their passage, ferns flatten under their feet. They are so big, so impossibly, carelessly alive, that you feel something loosen in your chest. A wonder so stark it chases out the fear, if only for a moment. You hold your breath as they pass. Minutes stretch into something timeless, a world reduced to the slow thunder of feet and the hush of grazing mouths. When the last tails vanish into the trees, you finally exhale. You stay pressed against the sandstone, waiting for your heart to slow. The vibration fades. Silence returns. You push yourself upright. Every muscle protests, but you stagger back toward the stream, toward the trampled path the herd has left behind. You study the flattened ferns, the shallow pools where their feet sank into the mud. You realize this passage has broken open the ground, revealing roots and tubers that might be edible. You kneel, prying a thick, knotted root from the earth. The flesh inside is pale and fibrous, the smell sharp and earthy. You scrape away a piece and taste it. Bitter but not poisonous. You eat slowly, careful not to overfill your empty stomach. As you chew, your thoughts drift. For days, for nights. You have no idea how long you can last. But in this moment, this improbable lull, you feel the smallest ember of defiance. The Jurassic has taken almost everything from you. Strength, certainty, even hope. But it has not yet taken your will. You stand, cradling the last pieces of the tuber in your hand. You follow the churned path left by the herd, moving deeper into the forest. The trees close around you, their shadows long in the late afternoon sun. Each step is agony, but you no longer expect comfort, only forward motion. The hours pass in a haze of exhaustion. You no longer measure time in minutes or distance, only in the steady rhythm of your footsteps and the slow, careful sips of water when you find it. By evening, you reach a hollow where the herd has stripped every plant above. Waist height, broken branches litter the ground. You pick your way among them, searching for a place to shelter. At the far end of the clearing, you find a massive, uprooted tree. The cavity left by its roots is deep and shaded, almost like a cave. You crawl inside without hesitation. There, you curl into a ball, clutching the last scraps of tuber against your chest. You tell yourself you will wake again. You tell yourself you will keep going. You close your eyes as the forest darkens, the sounds of ancient life rising around you, and for a little while, in that darkness, you feel something almost like belonging. You sleep in fragments. Dreams come in fevered flashes, blinding light, and colossal shapes moving just beyond sight. You dream of the Sarcosuchus sliding through black water, its ridged back parting the reeds. You dream of teeth closing around your leg, and of your own voice, thin and small, crying out in a world that does not hear you. You wake in darkness so complete you think, for a moment, that you have gone blind. The air in the hollow is damp, almost cold. Your skin is slick with sweat, though the night is no longer warm. You shift, trying to ease the ache in your ribs, but every movement sends a bright flare of pain through your chest and ankle. You stifle a sound, pressing your palm over your mouth. You listen. Nothing stirs in the clearing. No footsteps, no breathing but your own dot. At last, you dare to uncoil your cramped limbs. You crawl to the edge of the hollow and peer into the darkness. Moonlight filters through the broken branches, pooling in pale shapes on the trampled earth. The air smells of crushed ferns and something metallic blood, though you don't know if it's ancient or fresh. You ease yourself out into the open. Your legs tremble under your weight. You stand only because you have learned that there is no other choice. Each dawn now feels like a debt. You cannot keep paying, but you walk anyway. Forest in moonlight is a different world, every shape half seen, every shadow alive with possibility. You limp between fallen trunks, moving by memory more than sight. When you reach the stream again, you kneel and drink in silence. This time, there is no ripple of a Sarcosuchus, no watching eyes you can see. You think of all the books you read. As a child, illustrations of massive beasts drawn in bright, certain colors, captions declaring their names and their times. You think how tidy those books made it all seem, how safe. You have learned that the Jurassic is never tidy, never safe, only real. When you can stand again, you move upriver, hoping to find some sign that the ground is less hunted here. Hours pass, in a slow haze of darkness and movement. When the first gray breath of dawn comes through the canopy, you are standing on a ridge of cracked limestone, looking out over a wide basin. And you see them, dozens of small forms moving in ragged lines. Among the cycads, some no bigger than turkeys, others as tall as your waist. Feathers bristle along narrow necks and thin, expressive tails. You sink to your knees, watching them. Troodontids. You recognize their posture, wary, predatory patience as they nose among the plants. You have no illusions about their intelligence. They will not hesitate to mob a weak, wounded animal if hunger drives them to it, and you are nothing if not weak. But in this moment, they do not see you. You stay very still, your breath shallow. One by one, they slip back into the trees. You wait long after the last shape has vanished before you dare to move again. The sun climbs, washing the basin in gold. You have survived another night. You do not feel triumph, only a dull, persistent astonishment that your body still moves when you tell it to. You make your way down the ridge. The descent is treacherous, shifting underfoot, all roots waiting to catch your good leg. Twice you nearly fall. The third time, you go down hard. You lie there, your cheek pressed against the cool limestone, too tired to move. The sky overhead is so blue it looks unreal. For a moment, you think, this is where it ends. You think how easy it would be to close your eyes and let the sun have you. But then you hear it, a sound so small you almost think you imagine it. The trickle of water. You turn your head. Beyond a screen of ferns, a thin stream winds through the rocks, clearer than the other creeks you've found. You dragged yourself to your elbows, then to your knees. Each motion feels like it costs more than you can afford, but you keep going, inch by inch, until you are beside the stream. You drink. The water is cold, clean. You wash your face and hands. You rinse the blood from your scraped palms. When you finally sit back on your heels, you feel the smallest flicker of clarity. You are still here. You stand. You limp along the stream, moving deeper into the trees. The forest is quieter today. Distant roars, no crashing footfalls, only the wind among the fronds and the call of unseen birds. You find a place where the stream pools into a shallow basin. Smooth stones ring the water, warmed by the rising sun. You ease yourself down, resting your injured leg. Here. You let yourself rest. You close your eyes. And in that darkness behind your lids, you see the first day you arrived, the wall of green, the heat like a living weight, the certainty that you would never survive a single night. 4 nights later, you are still here. This thought does not feel like victory. It feels like a question you cannot yet answer. Why are you still alive? What is left in you that keeps moving when everything has told you to surrender? You do not know. But as you sit by the stream, the breeze cool on your skin, you feel something you haven't dared to feel since the first day. Not hope. Something quieter. Resolve. Asterisk. You open your eyes and lift your head. You are not finished. Not yet. Not yet. You don't know how long you sit there, watching the water swirl around the stones. The sun rises until the shadows shorten. Your skin prickles with heat, but you don't move. You are beyond exhaustion, beyond fear. There is only this moment, and the next, and the one after that. When you finally stand, your legs tremble so violently that you must lean against a tree to stay upright. You feel the old injury in your ankle, a deep, steady throb that has become as familiar to you as your own heartbeat. You breathe. You take a step. You will not die here. You follow the stream until it narrows, winding among twisted roots. In places, the banks are gouged with wide furrows, evidence of something massive passing through. You move slowly, your ears straining for any sound that doesn't belong. All morning, the forest is eerily calm. The calls of birds drift overhead, punctuated by the occasional splash of something unseen slipping into the water. But there are no roars, no crashing footfalls. You find yourself wondering if the larger predators have moved on, chasing the herds that always roam just beyond your vision. The thought brings you no comfort, because even in their absence, the Jurassic is no less lethal. Infection, hunger, the quiet hazards you can't see. Each step you take is borrowed time, yet still you walk. You come to a place where the trees grow in a tight ring, their trunks so wide that the canopy above blots out most of the sky. Ferns carpet the ground, dense and lush. In the green shadows, you feel the temperature drop a few precious degrees. You ease yourself down against a gnarled root, your breathing ragged. Here, for the first time since you arrived, you allow yourself to look back. 4 nights, 5 dawns. You remember every moment. The sound of the Allosaurus breathing in the darkness, the Sarcosuchus gliding past your hiding place, the colossal Diplodocus herd shaking the ground, the smaller predators, those clever, watchful eyes glinting among the sun, and you, crawling through the dirt, never more than a heartbeat from being noticed. The memory feels like something that happened to another person. You reach down, feeling the swollen flesh around your ankle. You can't see it clearly in the dim light, but you know it has worsened. The infection has crept higher. Each step costs more than the last. You lean your head back and close your eyes. If this is the end, you think, at least you have seen this place with your own eyes. Not in a museum or a book, but here alive, immense, uncaring. The thought doesn't feel like surrender, only recognition. This is the truth of the Jurassic. It does not care if you are here. It will not bend for you. It will not spare you. You must become part of it, or you will vanish. For a while, you sit there, listening to the forest breathe. In the hush between heartbeats, you almost believe you can hear the slow turning of time itself, an endless wheel grinding everything into the same dust. But then, a sound, a soft rustle in the ferns, followed by a thin, rhythmic tapping. You freeze, you turn your head, and in the half-light, you see them. Small, feathered shapes, no larger than dogs, drifting among the trunks. Narrow heads tilt, eyes glinting. One steps forward, its sickle-shaped claw lifting and falling in a patient dance. Dromaeosaurus.raptors.u have no strength left to run, no place to hide. You stare into the nearest set of bright, curious eyes. And in that moment, something unexpected happens. You feel calm, not because you believe you will survive, but because, after everything, you finally understand that survival here is never certain, that even the strongest creatures fall. The nearest raptor lifts its head, sniffing the air. Another circles wide, the ferns parting around its narrow flanks. They are not in a hurry. They have all the time in the world. You breathe slowly, evenly. You reach down and pick up a broken branch from the ground beside you. The wood is dry, splintered, but it feels solid in your hand. If this is where it ends, you will not meet it cowering. The nearest raptor steps closer. Its head cocks to one side, curious. It is close enough now that you can see the fine barbs of feathers along its arms. Its pupils contract as it studies you. You tighten your grip on the branch. The raptor hesitates, and in that instant, something else moves in the trees behind it. A ripple of leaves, a shudder in the undergrowth. The raptor's head snaps around, its gaze locking on a point beyond your vision. A deep, rolling growl rises from the shadows. The raptors go still. You feel the hair lift on your arms. Then they turn in unison and vanish into the fern silent as breath. You don't move. The growl comes again, closer. The undergrowth parts. And there, emerging like some ancient nightmare, is a shape you have seen only once before. A massive skull, jaws lined with serrated teeth, eyes that burn with an intelligence too deep to read. ALLOSAURUS. Your breath stops. It steps into the clearing, the ground shaking under its weight. Its gaze passes over the place where the raptors vanished, then settles on you. Your hand tightens on the branch, though you know it will mean nothing. For a long moment, you stare at each other. Predator, prey. You feel no shame, only a quiet clarity that this was always the end. The Allosaurus takes one step forward, then another. You do not close your eyes. The Allosaurus advances, each step measured, deliberate. You feel the tremor in the earth long before you hear the sound of its claws scoring the packed soil. Its skull is leveled with your chest, jaws parting slightly breath-warm and rank in the cooling afternoon. You tighten your grip on the branch. Your arm trembles, but you do not lower it. You are no threat to this creature. You are nothing here. But in this last moment, you refuse to be nothing to yourself. The Allosaurus lowers, its head, nostrils flaring as it tastes the air around you. The pupils constrict, focused. A deep rumble builds in its throat, so low you feel it in your ribs. You brace for the charge, for the teeth, for the end. And then it stops. The massive eyes regard you, unblinking. One step, another. Then the head lifts, swinging past you to the trees beyond. For one impossible instant, you see the entire expanse of the forest reflected in that ancient, predatory gaze. Then it turns. With a slow pivot of its massive body, it steps away, moving into the shadows between the saccades. Its tail sweeps the ground in a long arc behind it, and then it is gone. Only the hush remains, as if the forest itself has exhaled. Your knees buckle. You fall to the earth, the branch dropping from your numb hand. Your heart is hammering so violently, you think you might finally collapse. You press your palm to the ground, feeling the tremor of your own life, small, defiant, impossibly persistent. You do not understand why the Allosaurus spared you. Perhaps it sensed your body failing. Perhaps it had already eaten. Perhaps it did not see you as worthy of the energy it would take to end you. It doesn't matter. The fact remains, you are still alive. And for the first time since you arrived in this place, the thought does not feel like a curse. It feels like a question. If you have survived this, what else can you survive? You push yourself to your knees, then to your feet. The sun is sinking now, slanting long shadows between the trees. The sky overhead is deepening to that impossible blue that always comes just before night. You breathe. Somewhere beyond the ridge, you hear the raptors calling to each other, sharp trilling notes that echo off the stone. You feel no fear at the sound, only a quiet awe for this place, older and wilder than anything your kind has ever known. You do not know if you will live to see another dawn. You do not know if you can ever return home. But you know this: you have lasted longer than anyone thought, possible longer than you yourself believed you could. You turn away from the place where the Allosaurus vanished and begin walking. Each step is slow, careful, but it is yours. And as the first stars begin to prick the darkening sky, you feel something stir in your chests, something that might almost be hope. Not that this world will spare you, not that you will ever be safe here, but that as long as you keep moving, keep breathing, keep rising, when you fall, you have not yet been defeated. And for now, that is enough.